Good morning, everyone.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Good morning, Grand Rising. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to day 1492 of the Wake Up Everybody virtual community. My name is Marilyn Douglas Jones, and I'll be your facilitator today. And hopefully, I can inspire you to be an agent of change as we move through this topic. It's a short day today, and bear with us. Okay. So welcome to day 1492. Look at that number. It's important in many ways. Um, your educator, coach, financial literacy educator, and welcome to the Woo Space this Monday morning after a very challenging weekend, but we've made it. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. All right.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Welcome to the Wake Up Space, where our topic today is Jamaicans in the Village of Abundance. Professor Marilyn Douglas Jones, and let's try to make this happen today together. We're going to stay on this slide for a minute, and I'm going to ask you, what do you know about Jamaica? Any Jamaica, of course. A lot of you are in the northern space. What do you know about Jamaica? Who wants to jump on that? Easy question, hard question? Why might I ask you that? Okay, Asia Sunrise says Kingston. Okay. Did you know that the Jamaica in Queens, New York is named after the Jamaica in the Caribbean? It's settled. Queens, New York was settled by the Jews that came through Jamaica. Jamaica has the oldest Jewish settlement in the West, and some moved to New York. And so they loved Jamaica so much. They'd been there for a generation or two, had buried people there. And so they named their portion of Queens Jamaica. So Jamaicans are in that village of abundance everywhere. I've been doing a series on abundance in the village. And basically, the village is the world, and with a focus on our village, which is Africa. Okay. Next slide, please. Thank
Adam
you.
had his hand raised.
Go ahead, Adam.
Good morning, Will Nation. I just want to say quickly that Jamaica, the country, are known for their warmer climate and their wonderful hospitality as well.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And that's what we're going to dig into today. We're going to the Jamaica in the Caribbean and talk about Jamaicans, right? Jamaicans are a mix of African, Asian, European, and the first indigenous people that were there um, before Columbus came and discovered himself. um, Today we are about 90% or more African heritage, still African descendants, but Jamaicans look like everybody else in the world. The dominant people that did come and settle um, were Asian from India and China. A specific ethnic group from China called the Hakka is the dominant Chinese group, and then Indians. Um, from southern India mostly came to do when the blacks were brought as enslaved people for labor. And when we got our emancipation, when we were emancipated and we went off and did our own thing in other parts of the island, the sugarcane plantations needed workers. So they brought the indentured Indians from India to work. And then, of course, when they were building the railroad and the Chinese were brought, and they became the merchant class for a long time until the Lebanese and other Syrians came. And as I mentioned before, the Sephardic Jews came. And so Jamaica is a blend of the world. And maybe that might explain what makes us still so dominant in terms of a presence in the world today because we've migrated everywhere. But our values, our cultural values, are predominantly African and universal to the indigenous people of the earth. We value family. When I say we, I'm Jamaican as well. And we value family. We value our cultural heritage. We take from every part of that culture. Um, it shows up in our food. It shows up in the way we speak. We have a little bit of everywhere, including languages. And we have our own patois, or Jamaicans say patois, right? That's our Creole language that we blended. All these things that came from elsewhere, plus some of the Taino language to make it Jamaican patois. But our colonial language is English. Our official language is English, and now we've added patois as a language that students can learn in school. And Jamaicans are very spiritual people. Um, we are so spiritual that we have the most churches. We're on record as having the most churches per capita or even per square mile in Jamaica. There's nowhere you can drive for 5 minutes and not see a church. I think it's running around 1600 or something. And then, of course, we're that spiritual. There's a bar around the corner too, right? That kind of spirit. But and then, of course, we respect leadership coming from our African and Asian and indigenous heritage. Our concept of leadership, you respect your elders, you respect the people in authority. It doesn't mean you can't challenge it because we value quality leadership. So we've had rebellions, we've kicked out the British, we've compromised when they tried to come back. And because we were, as Africans, accustomed to the warm weather, they pretty much went back to England and Ireland and Scotland and left us in charge of the plantation, even during slavery, right? And so we are viewed as trustworthy and productive in terms of our work ethic still to this day. Grand Rising Queen Laura, Hope you can help me through this. Confirm if these are our values. We value family, we value heritage or cultural heritage. When we celebrate independence, we do a dramatic reenactment of all the different cultures that came together in Jamaica. Our motto is out of many, one people, one humanity. Okay. And so we do respect everybody's space to be who they are. And then we've also made it to where we are one Jamaica. If you were to call a house, you would hear the accent, but you would not realize what the person looks like until you see them. So Chinese Jamaicans sound alike, Indian Jamaicans sound alike. Only the newcomers may still have a little accent, but everybody else sounds alike. And it shocks some people when they go for the first time, or even when we come abroad as immigrants, when they see a white person and he or she opens his or her mouth and there's this Jamaican coming out, right? And so we are truly out of many one when it counts. But each group is still celebrating their own heritage and we share. It comes out in our food. We eat Chinese food. We cook our own version of Chinese food, the fried rice and all of that. And so we value oneness. And that takes us into our spirituality. We value education. It was our way of becoming upwardly mobile after slavery. And we got that actually from our religious institutions because there's a group called the Moravian, what's maybe like the Episcopalian or the Methodist, but they were teaching our children during slavery. And pretty much because we were left so much alone to take care of ourselves and the plantations, which was mostly sugar and bananas, um, they taught the children to replace the British, to eventually take over. That was the church's way of being an activist. The Moravians taught us to read and write again, right? Not for the first time, but to bring it back, our literacy back to us from our heritage. And they taught us before slavery ended, before emancipation. So education is still a big value today. We see it as a way to advance in life. And of course, our spirituality is so strong because we were alone in our space and we kept a lot of our indigenous uh, rituals or rites of passage. And we even invented our own called Rastafari, right? And that is a back to nature, grounded in Christian values, but very protective of those values, living it every day, not just for Sunday. Rastafarians are as natural as possible and they eat natural. Some eat meat, most don't. Some might eat fish or chicken, but most are vegetarian, right? And how do you have you heard of Rastafari before? Laura, do you want to come on and say something? I see a comment popping up. What did you
Uh,
talk about? Yes.
Grand Rising, Professor.
Mhm.
Thank you for this discussion this morning, and I'm happy you brought up the Rastafarian religion. Some
Mhm.
people call it a cult, but whatever it is. And this religion came about because of um, their resistance. It's a resistance movement also against enslavement and the oppressors they called Babylon. So I personally, when I was growing up as a child, they used to make us afraid of the Rastafarian culture or way of being. They used to call them black heart men because they didn't want to be a part of the regular society. They kept to themselves, they created their own communities and their way of life. So it was, to me, it is a powerful movement in Jamaica and might be globally it's spreading more across the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for them
Mm-hmm.
because they have brought about a lot of conscious awareness to the oppression in the country. With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamaica has multiple religions, which we don't really think of them as separate. And so I use the word spirituality. We have, of course, Christianity, but some of the voyagers, like Columbus's navigator, was one was Jewish and one was Muslim. And so the common values are what you see that we keep today, but we defend those values very strongly. Like we definitely pass it on, articulate it clearly to our children. And so we have that plus some indigenous from the natives that were there, especially in the way we prepare certain types of food and cook. And of course, our love of nature, because Jamaica is a beautiful island. It's also known as the land of wood and water, which is what the natives had named it and how it got the name Jamaica from Jamaica. And we also have voodoo, or we call it Obia because that's our Nigerian name for it. Obia. Obi means God, right? But the majority of people are Christians, and even the Rastafarians, their book is the Bible, and it's similar to the Coptic heritage as well. Um, and so, religion or spirituality plays a great role in our lives, especially living in nature still, um, where we use different herbs and spices to heal and to cook. But we are very close to nature. And so nature is revered the way the indigenous people pretty much revered it and took care of it and used it without wasting. And then, of course, we are known for being productive people. Some may call it workaholics, but we are driven to enforce those other values. So we work hard to make it happen, right? We have a very strong work ethic. Even in American stereotypes and comedy, they say you work like a Jamaican. And then, of course, if it's the Jamaican talking, they'll say your children are lazy because they only have 2 or 3 jobs, right? So our productivity is obvious from our work ethic, right? And so, anybody want to say anything about that? What didn't you know about those values?
Peace and blessings, sisters and brothers. Yes, and here in America, they did make our Rastafarian sisters and brothers negative to stay away, that they are dangerous. And I grew up here, and the jokes about just what you were saying about working. But if we had thought about it, isn't it good to be productive? And we were productive before we were brought over here. But the way we are brainwashed, brain changed to think negatively of each other. And
Mm-hmm.
I know growing up here, like I said, here being the US, those were some negativity points that they instilled in us. And then I remember something that was subliminally taught and said was, like they had, like our Jamaican brothers and sisters had no religion because they didn't talk about that. It was like they're just here, they're working and here to take away. And it's terrible that those of us, we taught that same thing to our children and our children's children. And thank you for sharing, sister, and thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. And if we stay on Rastafari for a little bit, As Queen Laura said, it came out of a spirit of resistance, not just to Christianity, but the way Christianity was taught to us. And so the Bible is a very important part of Rastafarian spirituality, but they have a different Bible. Their Bible is more complete and closer to the Ethiopian Bible. And so they defend it um, vehemently. And when some travel to work, um, well, they have the spirit of Samson, we say, where they don't cut their hair. And it's also similar to the Mau Mau rebels in Kenya. They had their hair similar. Um, and so that hair connects us to Africa. And it's a very important thing that when they migrated, some did not. They came as farm workers. And again, the spirit of resistance when the pharmaceutical people wanted to ban marijuana, which we got from India, from the Indians that came. That's why it's called ganja sometimes. It grew by the Ganges River. And so that's the name we hold for it. But when they of colonizers wanted to outlaw it because it was the way the men comforted themselves and had their spiritual experiences. They were chilling, so to speak, and the women used it for cramps. And so they boil the tea. The women don't smoke it. Um, the elders used to boil the tea when girls had stomach cramps, right? And so, of course, anything out of nature is medicinal. And they went as resistors, they did push it and they were viewed as criminals for insisting on sharing it with other people, right? So in about the 70s, 80s, they had movies where you see a guy with locks and he was the drug dealer or something. But we don't deal with hard drugs. That's the other folks. And so it was just to keep it alive. And even in our music, Peter Tosh says, if you legalize it, I will advertise it because it's a medicinal plant. It's good for a lot of things, including epilepsy, including chemo. When you're taking chemo, it reduces the nausea. Um, Anxiety, it reduces anxiety. And the Rastafarians are actually some of the most creative people. So it doesn't make them lazy, it makes them creative, right? And so it can also give you the munchies. I see Laura putting it in there. I'm gonna kind of move on now to the next slide because those cultural values bring us cultural wellness if we really practice them. And so the wellness markers takes us back to Maslow's hierarchy of need. We value family, and so we want our families to be safe. We're protective. We make sure that our children have healthy food, have exercise, and that has manifested as sports. We want our children to be safe, which is partially the government's responsibility to the leadership. We want our children to feel like they are loved and they belong, and we protect them from certain outside abuses that even some church leaders would abuse the children. Um, you know about the lawsuits in America. The Catholic Church has lost billions of dollars because of pedophilia. And that's one reason, too, why Jamaicans are so adamant about gay LGBTQ culture, because we have laws, and America does too. They do not practice sodomy laws and buggery laws, we call them, right? But those wellness markers are the same as the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We want the basic foundation of food, um, fresh food, organic food. It's easier to do it there than it might be here. Um, of course, we want public safety, which is the government and leadership's responsibility. We develop self-esteem in children through acquiring skills and good grades, right? And then we want to take it to the next level where the spirituality kicks back in because we are known as number one, the most helpful people in the world. We'll help a stranger. Nobody's a stranger for long. And so Rastafari comes out also from Marcus Garvey's influence. And he says, a people without knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. So we share stories with the children about their culture. And even through ghost stories, it's not like Halloween. It's stories about basically um, being resilient, not being afraid. Of course, it's used to instill fear in children of not being out late at night, but at the same time, it kept us in touch with what we could not see. Our family in the rural areas are buried in the backyard. There's a separate cemetery in everybody's backyard where we bury our people. We don't have we only recently in the last say 50 to years started to have official cemeteries, right? And Miss Laura, what did you want to say about our stories?
Now I put Anansi's stories and the ghosts we call duppies. But I want to go back to spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
about the African spiritualist movement they called Pocomania, a little
Mm-hmm.
madness,
Mm-hmm.
because they maintained the traditions of Africa and they didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
what they were doing. And
Mm-hmm.
now it is becoming even larger in Jamaica because people are becoming more aware of
Mm-hmm.
our technology and
Mm-hmm.
rituals. Just want to add that in. Thank you.
Thank you. Because also, Pocomania uses music, right? The drumming and everything like that, and the Rastas are really into the drumming. But the between Pocomania and Rastafari, that is what evolved into Jamaican full-blown culture, music culture. It went from that to ska outside of the church, and then mento, and then ska, and then rocksteady, which Aretha and Stevie brought or emphasized here uh, in many cases. And then that became reggae. And after this, now we have dancehall, which takes us back to Afrobeats, etc., and soca and calypso, which unites the Caribbean through that musical heritage, which is African heritage, right? And even with a touch of Indian from India too, because sometimes even in videos they use Indian girls doing Indian dances, but it's to the soca rhythm or a different tempo of the reggae, right? And so we have blended all these things together. We celebrate our roots and we pass it on to our children in a definite way through the stories. We have the Anansi stories out of Ghana or West Africa in general, right? And so we are a visible people as Black people, and then we're visible as Jamaicans in the way we speak. And then, of course, we are also visible, the most visible being Rastafari in many cases because of the hair. But just because you have the hair doesn't mean you're a Rasta. And if you're a Rasta, you don't necessarily have to have the hair, right? And so it's now a fashion statement in the world without it necessarily being a spiritual expression, right? But it kind of is a spiritual, whether people acknowledge it for themselves or not, because they're identifying with someone in solidarity with about something, even if it's just the crown act where you have a right to wear your hair the way you want to, right? So there's still that resistance through our hair. And of course, we know that during slavery, we had different hairstyles that were actually telling stories. They were maps to say we're going from the south, we're heading through that underground railroad. This is the way to get to the next stop on the railroad. So the hair has been a very important thing in Black culture, and in Jamaica, it's taken a little step further through Rastafari culture, right? Um, and so, of course, let's go to the next slide. We'll do a whole presentation on Rastafari, and I'll let a Rastafarian come and do that. But talking about resistance and doing things the way to keep our culture, the struggle continues, right? And so Marcus Garvey's influence around the world, he's still the only person to have had a global organization, dues paying of over 6 million people, with chapters all throughout the Caribbean and in Africa. And even in the United Kingdom, we had chapters of the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association, and a lot of people forget the ACL part, which is African Communities League. And he believed that Africa was for Africans at home and abroad. People tend to say he's the Back to Africa movement, but it was an option in his mind. You go if you want to. You should at least go and visit and do business, but you can stay where you are if that's where you're most comfortable, right? But it was a whole movement where he got the ships and everything. And we see here this picture, the struggle continues. A luta continua, and his flag is a red, black, and green, or RBG. I don't know if New Yorkers know that they tried to hijack that and make it Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the RBG, notorious RBG, right? Um, but the RBG is the black flag, right? The Universal African Resistance Flag. Red for our blood, our struggle, our strength. Black is our strength, our color, melanated people. And green is our productivity and the land that we are stewards of, right? So those colors mean something universal. Everybody believes red, right? And you think of black standing out as our strength, right? And then green, everybody has land and crops, okay? And the picture you're seeing here is Namibia's first um, president, female president. She was actually a child activist during the apartheid and resistance movement in Africa. And she is now 70, and she became president, I think, last year or so, right? And then we have, and I'm saying that because they're Garveyites, right? And then you see Ibrahim Traore. He is the president of Burkina Faso, and he's basically one of the three musketeers, we'll say, the three kings of the Sahel region in West Africa: Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And of course, the president of that Sahel alliance is Mali's Goita, Assimi Goita, which I joke with my grandson and say that, well, not a joke, but I say that the Mali Empire is rising again, right? Because they made him the president of the alliance, right? And so the struggle continues, it gets interrupted. We see Martin Luther King there talking about his dream, which was a financial dream. People think it's just, oh, he wants his children to play with white children. But he says our dream is deeply rooted into the American dream, right? And he came to Washington, stood in front of Lincoln's memorial because he came to cash a check. As money, the first half of that speech is about financial liberation, right? And then the second part is police brutality, poor housing, everything we still complain about today was outlined in the I Have a Dream speech, which is what makes it an iconic speech. But people think, oh, it's just because it's a nice speech about getting together. Read the speech for yourself, okay? Because that's still our struggle. The Africans that are now taking over their resources, it's about the money so that everybody can eat, right? And everybody can thrive, just like the people who come and take it or pay little for it, and then they bring it, process it, and sell it back to us at a high price. We think of chocolate as Swiss. Well, there's no chocolate growing in Switzerland, no cocoa trees, right? It's from Africa. And it was from Haiti before Haiti got destabilized. So Haiti was responsible for 40% of the wealth in Europe, not just France, right? Back in the day. And that's why they were able to struggle and pay the reparations to France when they kicked France out. But the struggle continues in many different ways. It is primarily economic. We still have our culture. We're divided to be controlled. We're pitted against each other, but because of technology, we're learning more about each other. The next generation after the Gen Zs and the millennials are coming together. Black Lives Matter was the pretty much the millennial movement. Um, it was diverse in age and ethnicity, but it was a millennial type movement. And now in Africa, we have the Gen Z movement, which is also moving into the Caribbean through voting. But in the Africa, it is still a protest, a heavy protest movement. Young people are losing their lives, right? Because the government is taking orders from elsewhere and trying to suppress them. Keep up with that history because you have an opportunity to invest in Africa, whether you want to live there or not, just like you invest in the stock market here. And so our legacy is one of family values. We have a culture. Americans have a culture. Black Americans have a culture, especially a Southern heritage culture. The Caribbean people have a culture. The Europeans, Blacks have Caribbean culture for the most part. And then, of course, the new generation is very Americanized. And even the African Americans are influencing people in Africa. And so the struggle continues. They know about Black Lives Matter. They were very sympathetic with the George Floyd incident. And now we need to pay attention and support them too. Um, And so the reason that you see Jamaicans as our topic in the village, all those things apply to Jamaica. Jamaica was very vocal about it. It's not that Jamaica is unique in doing certain things so much as it is in bringing it to the world. So Jamaica to the world is a popular expression. We don't see anyone as superior to us. We do see sometimes people acting foolishly, including and especially Jamaicans, because we're extreme at whatever we do, good or bad. And so the struggle continues now because of a hurricane that just devastated the entire island. Bear with me on that one, taking a deep breath, right? Hurricane Melissa sat over Jamaica for 2 days, and it left behind someplace looking like Gaza, okay, in Palestine, or the Ukraine that got bombed by the Russians. It devastated the central part of Jamaica and the western part, pretty much southwest and north central. And that's where our food supply comes from. So it flattened houses. Some people are still missing. The death count rises daily. The farm animals, a lot of farm animals were killed. The chickens, I'm talking mass production, right? Corporate farming. Um, so the livestock's gone, the crops are gone, people are sharing what's left. Of course, the media is using looting, um, just like Katrina with Katrina. But Melissa has devastated the entire island. Kingston suffered too, but not as much as everywhere else. Kingston is the capital. The tourism section suffered damage, but a lot of that's been restored. The airport's been restored already, not perfect yet, but people can now fly out and help can fly in. Right. Jamaicans have a saying, we're little but we taloa, which means we're tiny but mighty or resilient. And so we will come back. When they warned us that the hurricane was coming, people were already making jokes about it. When the wind was blowing and the rain started, people were outside pretending that they were skiing or all swimming. And, they made songs, they made dances. But when the hurricane hit, it was devastating, and they're still trying to keep their spirits up. They accommodated the tourists that were still there, and the tourists, out of gratitude, most of them are helping to clean up until their flights can be scheduled again. And so, again, we are helpful, right? We want your help now. This is the problem that we have today. So the legacy of struggle continues, but the spirit of togetherness is what we want to focus on. And so um, when you see the pictures, it's very devastating. It's going to take some time for us to recover. We do need help from everybody everywhere. And I would hope that African Americans, especially, could show some love by donating to official sources. Stay away from GoFundMe's. There's no guarantee it's going to get where it's supposed to get. And our last slide is to kind of bring a little seriousness to the situation and let you see how a particular place called Black River, again, that's called the breadbasket area of Jamaica. That's where the food and the cockpit country and the yam and all of that makes Usain Bolt run so well, is devastated, right? And this video will show you that area before the hurricane, and it will show you after the hurricane. So please be prepared to see the devastation and show us some love and help us. Please play the video. This is Black River, St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, where my father's from. Is there sound? Can you do full screen? Okay, on the left is before, and on the right is after, the exact same spots. Okay. And the relief link will be in the chat. Okay. Mm. I had another video, but it wouldn't play. But yeah, on the left, you see the green, right? Um, and the most houses have either lost their roof or disappeared completely. You see the foundation. A lot of we were advised to traditionally we build houses of brick, um, concrete bricks and steel. right? Because we know we're in the hurricane belt. Well, lately, to kind of, appeal to tourists, they started doing wooden houses with all these pretty colors, and all those houses are gone now. So I'm sure we'll be going back to the steel and concrete, because a lot of the houses that were steel and concrete, they lost just the roof. But of course, the damage is really still pretty bad. And anything that wasn't secured with the steel and the concrete is gone, right? Um, as I said, people are missing. There's still a lot of water, a lot of flooding. And of course, the roads were damaged, turned into rivers, or blocked by the trees that had fallen down. So it's been hard for help to come through. But thankfully, the Chinese were there building roads, so they've used their equipment voluntarily to kind of help move those trees out of the way and to get to through the main areas as quickly as possible. But a lot of tourist sites like Fern Gully, Bamboo um, Walk is gone. The trees are devastated. It will come back. Again, we're Talawa, we're resilient. We've gone through, just went through Barrow not too long ago. But this is the highest ever recorded in history, which was a category 5. And it sat there till it tore up everything it wanted to tear up, and then it left. And it went to the Haiti and the Bahamas and Cuba, and a little piece of Bermuda, I think, got the rain. But we need help. Um, Food for the Poor can get things there quickly. World Central Kitchen was there doing hot meals, um, right the day after. Um, Everybody's not getting it. We still need you to donate to Food for the Poor, ja.org. Um, there's also help for the infrastructure. Again, Jamaican leadership so far looks good in that we were the first to buy the new insurance because of this climate change, and we were the first to buy it. So that's going to give us um, billions of Jamaican dollars to start rebuilding the infrastructure. But hospitals are down, schools are down. The schools were and the hospitals were supposed to be shelters, and the hospitals are damaged or gone. And then the schools, because the schools are steel and concrete, they're still there, but of course they may have lost their roof, the doors and things like that. It seems there was tornadic type winds. If you see the enactments of it. And so the furniture, people don't have furniture anymore. It's a rubble. The wooden houses, like I said, are a pile of rubble. And we will come back with everybody's help. And people are helping each other already. And we really appreciate the tourists who couldn't get out. So they're helping to clean up at least the hotel where they are and the streets where they are. But it's a strain on the little food that is available. And so, even though we're the land of wood and water, of course, bottled water is the way to go right now, right? And there are lots of theories about how and why it happened, but it happened. And so, we have to deal with what's left. Where do we go from here? Okay. All right. And are there any comments in the chat or on Facebook before I'm complete? Rana?
Yes, Laura says the African spiritual movement that maintained the practices of our African ancestors.
She's
As
there.
Ganja, a medicinal plant for the healing of the nation, it increases appetite. Cassandra says you just have to research the strains for the desired effect.
Mhm,
Laura says analysis stories. Florence says Jamaicans do not allow anyone to take advantage of them. Adam
mhm,
says facts. Phyllis says, Hail Selassie, known for the Rastafarian movement. Laura says, Long live the Honorable Marcus Garvey, one love. Florence says, One needs a certain type of personality to maintain the hairstyle. It denotes a certain strength, resilience, determination. Laura says, As Timbuktu will be restored. Aisha Winfield says, Can you put the link to the video in the chat? And Laura says, I did hear about tornado activities during the hurricane. Laura has her hand raised as well. Laura, if you want to say something.
Quickly, thank you so much, Professor, for bringing light to the situation. And I would also like, if anyone knows about exactly what happened in Haiti. I heard about many deaths. So if we could get someone to come on also to let us know exactly what happened in Haiti. Because all the attention is on Jamaica. So I personally, and I'm sure the community, would like to hear more about Haiti. With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Yes, and the Jamaica, because it was the first and the worst, that's where the attention is, because the whole country pretty much needs to be rebuilt in terms of infrastructure. But the Caribbean community will be focusing on Haiti soon, like especially through, like, I'm with the Texas Caribbean Chamber of Commerce. When we raise funds, like, we've deferred to the Jamaicans right now, but when we raise funds, it will be for all the Caribbean countries impacted, including the Bahamas, right? And there's just a lot of things going on that's, if you're a religious person or a Christian person, in the Bible, it talks about the tribulation. You need to look up what that means. And the Bible is not just a mythical place. It manifests when you can see what it's saying. You may not understand it when you first read it or hear about it, but now you can see certain things being manifested, even if it's not religion based, it's at least politically based, and you see how people live. It's a book about human beings and our evolution and our discernment, so to speak. So you don't have to take it as a religion in that sense, but you take it as African history, a history of the village. And Jamaica is an important part of that village. And then the Caribbean, of course, is part of that village, and we need to work together. There will be conversations. Martine talks about diaspora wars. We're talking about building community. What are the obstacles and what are the opportunities for us to build community as one African people, one humanity, including other people? Okay. And so I thank you for your attention. We did run over. I'm glad you're still here. Please spread the word. Check the chat, and I'll let Ronnie take over. And Sean, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Marilyn. So moving on, this is the slide showing the contact information for Professor Marilyn. If you guys want to contact her, her phone number is given, her Instagram handle, and her email for any information or queries or reaching out to her are given in the slide. You can also register for monthly love offerings and donations for Wake Up Everybody community and space, for the space to be going and running. You can do anywhere from $25, $50, 75 or $100 a month, however you are comfortable with. So you can register in the love offerings and donations for Wake Up Everybody space, for the space to be going. This is the information regarding the upcoming sessions, the one that we have on Tuesday and Wednesday, November 4th and November 5th, respectively, facilitated by Martin Lisa Malibers and Nicholas Cozy Hurd. So we are definitely looking forward to the upcoming sessions. And I would like to extend my welcome and gratitude to the existing Wu Nation members, and we would like to welcome all the new members. It's a community where we come to learn, elevate, and ascend. And you're very welcome to invite your friends and family for the community to grow bigger and bigger. This is our Wake Up Everybody schedule. Zoom live workshop Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and on Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 to 7:30 a.m. We stream live on Facebook as well. For any text alerts for Woo alerts, you can text Woo Nation to 74121 and you will be able to get um, any alerts and notifications for Wake Up Everybody space and community. Thank you so very much. You can stay in touch. You can register at Wake Up Movement. You can join private and public Facebook pages. You can join Instagram handle, which is Wake Up Everybody Virtual. You can also watch our videos on YouTube by joining the YouTube channel. And for any queries or concerns or any information regarding the space, you can email at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. And now I would request all of you to unmute and shower your love at Professor Marilyn for her for facilitating us with such a great session. Thank you so very
Thank you,
much.
beloved.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
thank you,
much,
thank you,
Miss
thank you, thank you,
Marilyn.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank
Love
you
you.
so
Love
much
you. Love
for
you.
another
Thank you so
great
much.
knowledge you
Love
poured
you
into me
all.
more and
Thank you,
more.
Professor Marilyn. Thank you, thank you, thank
When
you.
you
Thank
come
you, my
on
sister.
a live
One
form, it's
love, one
always
love.
the host
Thank
as
you.
one love.
Appreciate you. Rest well.
I and I.
Have an awesome day.
You.
Bless.
Great week.
Love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Great wisdom as always, Professor Marilyn.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.